Alright, let's see if we can sort this 051, 050, 075, 076 water thing out. Really not an oil pump issue, since they all basically use the same plunger and same pump up till serial number 8369700. The main variable, try to figure out what you need to get your oiler working again, is what kind of a rim drive, spur drive, or worm gear you got going on to actually drive the pump itself. Pump, there's the pump. That's pretty much the pump. The real variable is your worm gear and how it actually drives the pump via the clutch. All the early ones were spur drive with a pin drive plate that basically hooked right in here. You got one hole, you got two pins in this particular version, and so one pin sneaks in the hole, one pin straddles the spur on the other side, goes up. The worm obviously is in here, screwed in down there, and into the actual corresponding end of the pump shaft. And the two pins just sit here and it goes together just like this. Sit there, clutch engages, pumps oil. So you got this particular version, which is driven literally by the spur and the drive plate, washer drive plate. This particular one, the two pin version with the what I call the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock worm, and it's pretty hard to find these. It took me 3 months just to find this drive plate. All the early ones were spur drive. Problem I had with this one in the first place is the shop that I got this thing from tried to put the wrong parts on it. Well, it came with the wrong parts, so he tried to replace the same ones, and he got the wrong ones too. So the oiler never did really work right on this one. But all the early ones were designed to have 404 spur drives. So if you get an old 051 AV that's got some kind of cobbled together rim setup on it and some pins and stuff, it's not the way to go. Unless it's got this kind of a pin setup. These two pins do work with a spur. There's a one pin version as far as the drive plate goes. Same basic setup. These are for illustration purposes only. They're actually for the 041, and they're way too small obviously for this. But yeah, then you still had the other version that basically you just had the little washer and everything in there, and you had to put the pin in yourself. So there you go. You got that approach. Then came the spur option, and your regular spur drum, spur drive, and the two pin setup. It kind of snuck right in there and sort of straddled the splines like that, and pretty sloppy, but it served a purpose, and it broke a lot. But I don't have the particular worm corresponding to the what I call the 10 and 2 or 11 and 1 or whatever you want, but basically the same basic deal. It's just that the holes are up here at 10 and 2, 11 and 1 instead of 9 and 3. That's that simple. And it's just that other variable that goes into the equation when you're trying to sort out what you need with one of these saws. Cool thing about the pins is it gets you to 3/8, where these are all predominantly 404 pitch, and ½ inch also. Now, as far as the where everything changed was when they went to this lug drive worm gear, which is a much more robust design, much more hardcore, and the drive plate was basically at that point nothing but a washer that with a couple holes in it. Did have a couple tabs that kind of sneak down into these areas here. So this sort of goes like this. You set that rascal on there. Just a spacer at this point and a washer. The lugs go to sneak right down through there. And you can see how this all works. That lug, those lugs are right there driving the guts of the spline there, the whole major casting of that spline, as opposed to spinning around doing some friction stuff. They're part of the whole assembly, and still allows my spur to ride like it should. And for the most part, that's pretty much it. Now, what the difference with when they went to this design, by the way, there is also a spur version of clutch drum with this lug setup, and it just basically has notches cut in the spur for the lug to sneak in there. And there's all two different kinds of lug drives, but I'm not going to get into that one right now. But generally what happened was the 075s pretty much all had this kind of a lug drive setup. Much later, 051s and 075s did as well. Most dealers are going to tell you that this is a replacement for this setup, which, unless you are beyond serial number 8369700, is not correct. Finding these pieces are really tough. Finding this is really tough. You're going to find a lot of worm gears that have this configuration, but you're also going to be able to find a lot of the one-hole jobs. And of course, if you got a one-hole plate and a two-hole worm, that's going to work too. More often than not, you're going to find the 10 and 2, 11 and 1, whatever you want to call that other setup, which is actually kind of cool because it'll drive spurs, and gives you some flexibility there. Get to 3/8 if you want to. This actually came with a hard-nosed 404 bar, so, came with a hard-nosed bar, so 404 3/8 didn't matter to me. But got the 404 chain, so might as well get her going. But the thing is too, with this other pump, with the newer pump, they changed cases. You can't put the newer shaft. You can't put the newer shaft into the older pump style. Well, actually you can, but it's not really going to work right. This gear is different. These gears are smaller. More teeth in the gears, different gauge, different threads here on these worms, and the cases are different, and it's a whole different bearing. And it's a different drive shaft. So your dealer tells you that this is what you need. This is an upgrade to what you have. Well, it might be, but unless you had one of these in the first place, it's not an upgrade to one of these old saws. It won't work. The only way it's going to work is basically yanking out this old seal, getting another aftermarket, or getting a custom seal that'll go in here and accommodate the different diameter. Because as you can clearly see, there's a big difference in the outside diameter of these worms. There's also a difference in the inside diameter because these cranks are different diameters from the earlier style to the later style that employed these later style gears. So for the most part, it's an easy fix, and you just got to figure out what you're looking for in the first place, and you got to know all these differences are actually there. And it took me quite a while to sort through all this stuff. Primarily, just comparing stuff on eBay. And that's where I got most of my knowledge, because I've been looking around, rooting and searching and stuff, and there's not a lot of information out here, and that's why I hopped in on this thread to kind of see if I could do any good whatsoever. I hopped in to see if I could find out what the answer was, and of course there wasn't one, so I'm trying to figure it out. I got a lot of help from Definitive Dave with some documentation he sent me. He's got some old school hard copy tech notes and research bulletins and all that kind of stuff that actually cover the very subject and got me into more part numbers than I know what to do with. I'm going to try to post that for cross-reference and try to correlate some things with case numbers and all this other stuff. And of course, my boy Duke there off the Duke, Chris, boy, he hooked me up with a lot of this stuff. Just dug through all kinds of everything he had to try to give me all the options I could, try to help sort it out. The main solution, the quick and easy solution, is sitting right here, and let's go back to this spur, or go to this spur from what originally was this cobbled together rim set. Well, it was this rim, it was this spur, it was this this washer with a couple pins shoved in on this pump, which just broke, and it just wouldn't work. It's just all the wrong stuff. You couldn't have put more of the wrong stuff on here, except maybe a 325 chain. Figured that was going to work too. But anyhow, it's been a real interesting exercise, and there's more to it. And I'm going to try to keep on until I can get as much information posted as possible, and hopefully this video comes out, because I just set the phone over here and turned it on, and we'll see what happens. But these pieces, most of the pieces that you need, if you know what you're looking for, are available on eBay. The tough piece is this one. I found one in like 3 or 4 months, or whatever I said it took me to get it. I found one. But the easy way to go is stick with a spur and screw the rim, unless you already got the rim and you already got the right everything. And there you go. But you don't upgrade from the old school to the new style. It just doesn't fit. There is a way you can do it, though. Like I say, and I'm really intrigued. If I can get a chunk of a case or something, pull this big old seal out, put the smaller, I've got access to a seal place that'll get me a nice seal that'll sneak in there, that'll handle this. But the pump shaft fits, and it'll work in the pump and everything. But you got to get in here, got to get inside this bad boy into the bushing, and it needs to be honed out a little bit so it's free on the shaft, but the seal still does its job. There's an oil seal right here. Besides this oil seal, there's one inside the worm, ladies and gentlemen, and you don't want to get in there with your emery cloth if you got to hone out this bushing. So you're going to pull that seal out just to hone out the bushing. Just put, you see what I'm talking about. So anyway, it only costs you about $35 if it's an easy fix, and there's a way to do it. And you can't find all these other parts because this new stuff's readily available. You can get it from HL Supply, whoever. That stuff's out there. The old stuff is like gold. Like I say, as is the documentation I got from Dave and the help I got from Chris Thiroff. And hopefully it just should help somebody else out. But this old girl is definitely worth getting back together, and I'm real anxious to get it running. Not that I want to be slinging it around all day cutting firewood, but it's a really, really nice specimen of an old 051 in really, really nice shape. And we're going to get her oil on again and making some noise. So anyway, I hope this video turned out, and I hope it helps somebody. So later, gang.